All right, hello everyone. This is Sir Adrian back here to film the random events as well as the Italian entry roll in our current game of Global War 1914 we are having, titled Operation Bersaglieri. Things progress quite interestingly, so we'll see how things continue to pan out as we head into the fall winter of 1915. And while I'm over here, just a quick reminder that neither the Germans, British, nor French have yet completed their mandatory offensives for this year. So this next upcoming turn is their last chance to do that, after which they will suffer the consequences of that going in, or of not doing it rather, going into the spring of 1916 until such time as they do complete one in 1916. I do believe is how it works. Either way, there'll be consequences if they don't do it. And the British, in fact, will suffer those consequences, whatever they are. And I would quick look over those when it gets to the British turn, just so they don't make any mistakes there, because they do not currently have enough regular infantry units to either attack into Belgium, or in this case, they would have to be in Lorraine to attack into Bavaria. So either attacking Belgium or into Lorraine, they would need a minimum of 6 regular infantry units, which they don't have. So yeah, that's definitely tricky and something to keep in mind going forward. For all sides, in fact, is to have those 6 infantry, because you don't want to miss out on the random, not the random events, on your wartime income, for example. Like, you don't get to roll that if you haven't done your mandatory offensive. So yeah, definitely not good, and something you want to avoid if at all possible. Anyways, let's get into the random events first. So we'll start with the fall winter 1915 East. Let's see what we get. So we got a 5. So 5 is Argentine bases. So place 1 German submarine in port in Argentina and 1 in Chile for 3 IPPs each. So the Germans will have to pay up 6 IPPs from whatever their current income level was. I do believe it was 43, but they would have that correct number in the TTS save file. All Central Powers submarines may use any naval base in Chile or Argentina if they are neutral or Central Power controlled aligned. In Chile and Argentina, both are neutral. It's a bit hard to see with the lighting here. Apologies, but that's Argentina and Chile. I'm not too sure why, but in the TTS file, there's definitely some roundels that are missing for some of the nations. So that's something that'll have to be addressed in the future. And I think what I might do is just copy some Swiss roundels and place them and rename them for Argentina. I think Chile might be there, but I'm not too sure. But I know Argentina isn't for a fact, including North Persia as well. I know it's not on there. They have the 1 IPP in trade, but they haven't been able to collect that yet because they don't have a supply path to there. So that's fine. We haven't missed anything there. But that roundel also isn't in the TTSA file, so that'll have to be updated. But regardless, they are neutral. So as I said, they do get to use any of their naval bases as that applies. And furthermore, they receive 1 free diplomacy roll each for Argentina and Chile. That is to say, the Germans do. So we'll go ahead and roll those. So we'll start with Chile. That's a miss. And for Argentina, And that's a miss, so nothing happens there. And the little historical context is just Argentina and Chile decide to help the Central Powers and open their ports to their U-boats. However, the Germans would have to remember that if they do go into port in either of these territories, that would trigger the U.S. income increase. I can't quite remember, or one of the U.S. income increases. I believe it's plus 2 IPP, if I recall correctly, for each turn that a Central Powers ship is directly off the American coastline. Although that might not apply to submarines. It might just be surface warships, but I do believe it is any Central Powers naval unit. Aside from if they're aligned. So if this ended up being aligned, for example, on the German turn, as long as you moved them by the end of the turn, so let's say from this C zone A49 into here, that would be fine. But if you left them on the German turn, then the US would get that increase. So nothing bordering South America, Central America, or North America is allowed. The Americans may be neutral still, but they don't take kindly to hostile foreign powers, and not even hostile necessarily at this point, but really any foreign powers meddling in South American, Central American, or North American affairs. So I will go ahead and update that later and place those units. Now we'll roll for the events for the West. I like to print these out as I use my phone to film. So let's go ahead and roll that. There we go. Okay, find my D6. And that's a 1. So Italian fervor. So we place 1 Italian infantry unit in any Italian territory, even if they're neutral. They're still neutral, so nobody really decides for them. So I'll just pick somewhere and place that infantry. And the little history blurb for that one is Italian communities in South America assembled for patriotic parades, raised flags, sang the national anthem, and expanded fundraising activities in public when Italy joined the war. So Italy didn't join the war yet in our case. Or we don't know if they will or not. So I actually think I should have done the Italian entry roll before rolling these, but that's fine. So even if they stay neutral, they will get that. So we'll actually go ahead and place that in... we will put it in Mezzogiorno, is where that Italian infantry will be stationed. So I'll go ahead and update that off camera. Aside from that, we'll do the Italian entry roll. Once again, they stayed neutral last turn. We'll go ahead and roll our 1d12 and see what we get. Okay, so we got a base of 4. Now, if we look at the Italian National Reference Sheet, we see that that goes down by -1 for each city captured by the Central Powers. So they only have Russian cities. So they have Warsaw. They took Smolensk this past turn. They still have Kyiv. And that, I believe, is it. Yep, that's it. So that'll be -3 so far. They have 8 or more. Apologies for the glare. There we go. They have 8 or more infantry units in Austria. So that's another -2, which brings us to -5. Japan joined the Allies, so that's -6. And then they also get an extra -1 for when we rolled. I can't remember which turn it was, if it was in the spring of 1912, but a while back, the British-Italian rivalry random event. The British decided to challenge the Italians. That's where you place attacking neutral infantry in Cyrenaica and Western Egypt, and the one in Cyrenaica won. So since then, that's the Senussi rebels that have established their own country or republic or whatever the hell you want to call it, a strict neutral state in Cyrenaica. So yeah, if we count those three, that 2, -1 because Japan joined the Allies, and that other minus, that's -7. And the Allies on our side, so that would effectively bring it down to 0. You of course, once it gets to 0, we don't keep counting that back. And the Allies get a +1 because Italy is currently stayed neutral rather the last turn. So each following turn they're neutral. So we get a +1 this round. We get our +2 because France is still going to agree to give Tunisia to Italy and lose a victory point over that. So that's a 3 currently. And make sure I'm not missing anything. Italy is neutral. +1, Japan is neutral. +2. So that's a 3 currently. And then I believe that's it, because those other modifiers for those random events don't apply. Regardless, and I could be missing some, I don't think I am, but please point them out if I am. But regardless, so far that would bring us to, at a minimum, a 3, if not slightly higher. So once again, Italy will remain neutral this turn. It seems like they're very much on the fence regarding the growing and escalating conflict around the globe, and they are still being visited by various delegations from both sides to convince them of the merits of joining one side or the other. So other than that, the only other thing I'll do is remove the damage markers for the convoy rating, as well as my little sinking ships that I got recently for that, which I think look quite cool. There's one down here as well in the East Asian line. That should be it for that. We don't have to do anything with planes on the map. That'll happen at the end of this current turn. I'll get into what that entails in a little bit more detail once we get to that. And the only other thing we have to do is, so Bulgaria would normally align at this point, although they are already aligned to the Austro-Hungarians and have been for a little while. So NAID aligns, however. So that's this country down here. So that aligns to the British. So I'll grab a British unit for that in a second. And the British get 1 extra IPP for that. So they should go up to 34. Aside from that, that'll be it for this current video for the random events, and we'll hand things off to the Germans as we go into the fall-winter of 1915.